And today I'm going to do a video on 1/12 scale axle maintenance and just general inspection. So if you're having problems with your 1/12 scale and you find it's just handling erratically and you don't know why, the suspension setup seems to be good, your shock seems to be good, your dampers, your side springs, everything's good. But have you checked the rear differential? Have you checked the axle? This area tends to be commonly overlooked, especially for beginners. I have run into issues where the axle was completely afoul, and after cleaning it and maintaining it, I've had no issues. So one thing to look at is the bearings. Bearings on 1/12 scale vehicles go frequently, especially in the axle, because side impacts. If the axle spacer is too tight, squishing on the bearings, it can prematurely fail the bearings. And just general dirt and debris can get into them and just destroy them. So, it's a quick and easy check is, just simply spin the axle and see what happens. If the axle spins for quite some time, you're no problem. If the axle stops after a few rotations, you're going to probably need to change it. And if you're unsure, what you can do is just simply just turn the wheel, and if you could feel the bearings tick over, you need to replace the ball bearings. It's simple as that. Now, one thing that I've noticed, especially with Yokomo chassis, the F1s and the 1/12 scales, is that the axle height spacers tend to be too tight. And what they do is they really press down on the bearing, the outer race, and what that causes is the bearing to really squeeze down on the axle. So what I found works is taking some sandpaper and just kind of like sanding around the outer edge where the axle insert goes into the rear aluminum bulkhead. That tends to relieve some stress on the bearings, and overall the axle rolls smoothly after you do that. You could probably do it with a Dremel, just Dremel around the edges there. What else? So that's the axle part of it all. Once you figure that out, you'll be good. Next is like the differential itself. So here's the differential, which I've taken apart. All of its components, differential ring. You have your spur gear with the differential balls inside, and you have the bearing in there. Now, with the Yokomo chassis, you get this little doodad here. This is Yokomo's own thrust bearing, and it's a great thrust bearing. Minimal maintenance. It lasts forever. I haven't had any issues with these guys here. Now, if you don't really have access to Yokomo parts, I highly suggest a company called Slapmaster. Slapmaster offers this kit right here, and they offer various kits for different models. So you'll just have to go to Slapmaster's website and check them out. It's a pretty simple thrust race setup. The only difference is you'll need to use just like a standard axle bearing. And what you do is you take this plastic insert here, making sure that the lip fits in to the bearing, like so. And then what you do, there's two sides to this. There's like the groove side and the flat side. In the manual, it says to use the groove side. But as of late, the owner of Slapmaster said if you want to have better differential action, flip it the other way. So you got the flat side, and then you have like the thrust cage, and then the flat side again, like so. And then you get your bevel washer and put that on top. Make sure that you put the bevel washer on the right way. The bevel washer should be going like this on top of the thrust, and then you put your lock nut on like so. Ta-da! All right, so there you go. So that's how it works. But you're probably wondering, oh, what grease do I put in there? Well, you want to use associated black grease. Let me see if I can get it here. This stuff right here. This stuff I highly suggest using for the thrust bearing. For whatever thrust bearing setup you use the associated black grease. That's the best stuff to use. Don't use standard white grease. I've seen guys use differential oil, shock oil. Don't use that. Use the associated black grease. That's the stuff to go for. All right. All right, so once again, there is the Yokomo setup. If you can get that, great. If you get the Slapmaster, you're just as good. Probably even better with the Slapmaster. All right. Now, differential rings. These are important because they make contact with the differential balls. And you want to make sure that those differential rings are nice and flat and have a bit of a grit surface to it. People say, oh, well, you know, you want to polish the differentials so they're just like a mirror finish. You don't want that. You want to have the differential rings with a bit of abrasion on the surface so the differential balls will grab and you'll get that nice solid differential action. Now, a company that I highly suggest that offers all this is TKO. TKO offers these differential rings for various pan cars, and these are the flattest, and I think the finish is like a number 7. So the finish on this is absolutely amazing, and they're so flat that once you put them into your car, you just have to break them in oh so slightly, and your differential is money. Like, you don't have to worry about taking sandpaper, taking your hub and doing all that process. All you have to do is just simply put that differential ring, put it in, slap everything in, and you're good to go, and you'll have the best differential rings you've ever tried. TKO, check them out. They're the differential rings to have. And when it comes to differential grease, there's various manufacturers that offer differential grease. There's Associated, there's Yokomo, there's Schumacher. There's so many different companies out there. Just pick one that you think works well. Do not use differential oil for your gear diffs. That doesn't work. Don't use regular oil. That doesn't work. It just flings off and it just becomes useless after. But yeah, like I've just these are actually the Yokomo TKO differential rings. These are absolutely amazing. So you got them for Yokomo chassis, you got them for various other chassis. So if your differential rings look like that, definitely check out TKO. And they offer associated B5 flat and finished differential rings. So definitely check them out if you're an associated B5 racer. Other than that, that's pretty much it. When you assemble everything onto your axle and you're ready to go, you want to make sure that when you are applying pressure with the wheel nut, especially on a freshly made differential, you just don't drive the wheel nut in and you just compress the differential unit tightly. You want to gradually have the differential rings work themselves in. And so what I do is freshly built, throw everything on there, start tightening the wheel nut, check to see how close the two plates are to touch the center of the differential. And then once it just touches, then I start to gently apply pressure and rotate the nut in. And I just, gently move the differential back and forth, just working the grease and the balls along the plate. And then I move the wrench in a little bit further, turn the nut in, move it a little bit more. And then once I got solid contact, I then turn on my radio, get the motor connected, and then I simply hold one wheel and have the radio, hit the throttle, spin the differential a few times, and then I switch and I spin the other side, and then I turn the nut in just a little bit. Do the same for both sides. And what I'm doing is I'm breaking in the differential balls into the rings. And you don't want to drive the differential into itself. You want to just gradually work itself in. And then once you've gotten to the point where you hold both tires and you can't move that spur gear, you're good to go and you're ready to go take it out on the track. Okay, I hope this was of some help. If you have any questions or any other video suggestions that I can do for you, please shoot me a message, and have a great day. Bye.